Hey, everybody. Hopefully, everybody's having a good time. Thank you so much for tuning in and watching the College Sports Super Fan. Couple of really frustrating things going on in college football when it comes to the transfer portal. I've got two really interesting stories that highlight a major problem, not just in college football, but in college sports in general. But of course, college football is the main money making sport and generates the most headlines. Before I get into these two stories, what makes this really frustrating is last night, at the time you're watching this video, and hopefully the game between Indiana and Oregon is also epic tonight. But the Fiesta Bowl between Ole Miss and Miami was an all-time classic that saw the Hurricanes win that game. One of the best games, and overall the expanded playoff, while it still has some issues, I think has made some really competitive, fun games. Teams can feel like anybody can go in and win the whole championship. So overall, the expanded playoff has done well. But at the same time, we've got these extremely frustrating issues. Let me talk about two stories going on with the transfer portal that's just really troubling. First one is with Damond Williams, the Washington Huskies quarterback. A lot of people have probably been hearing about the fact that Damond Williams signed with the Washington Huskies a supposedly legally binding contract to stay with the Huskies, and then a week later enters the transfer portal, supposedly. And supposedly, he announced this to the team while they were at the funeral of a death of a women's soccer player, a tragic death of a Washington Huskies women's soccer player. The team is at the funeral when supposedly they find the news that Damond Williams might be transferring out, despite the fact that Washington was going to pay him $4 million to stay for another year and stay with the Huskies. This is all as a result of LSU potentially tampering, trying to get Williams after they struck out on getting Brendan Sorsby and Austin Simmons, which is a topic for another video I hope to make pretty soon about Lane Kiffin's failures so far that we're already seeing with LSU and the troubling signs that the Tigers could be in more so than they think they are. But anyways, back to the topic at hand with Damond Williams. That all comes out. Then Williams kind of says, "Oh, no, I'm just kidding." Basically, yeah, I am playing for the team next year. Probably, my guess is because some lawyers sat down with him and said, "Hey, you're going to completely screw yourself over. You signed a legally binding contract, and you think you're going to fight against the University of Washington's lawyers when they can hire some of the best lawyers in the country, and you think you're going to fight against them and win? Not a chance." So ultimately, my guess is that Williams talked to some lawyers. They said you have no chance of winning this thing, and actually, you could really screw yourself over and potentially. I mean, we don't know the ramifications of what could have happened here, but who knows? There may have been some weird, loophole they discovered where it turns out like if he loses this case, he might not be able to play college football for another season at all, and then would just have to just sit out the whole year and train for the NFL draft and hope that he's still relevant by the time the next NFL draft comes around. So he could have really screwed himself over here. But again, this was supposed to be a legally binding contract. And then we just got another big story today involving DJ Lagway. We've made headlines. He was a top tier quarterback prospect. I've seen his film from high school. I think DJ Lagway is a very talented guy. I think by far he was not the problem with the Florida Gators. I think there was a lot of other issues going on with Florida's team. He's very inconsistent there, but he's still got a lot of potential. So I fully get the hype behind DJ Lagway. I personally, based on his high school tape and based on some of the things that I've seen from him, I understand the hype. So he supposedly verbally commits to Baylor. Now, as far as I know, he hasn't signed any legally binding contract like Damond Williams did, but he at least verbally intends to go to Baylor. He's hanging out with the head coach. They're going to the Baylor Iowa State basketball game. Everything seems like it's going right to the Baylor Bears, and then Ole Miss loses to Miami, and Trinidad Chambliss gets denied by the NCAA for a sixth year of eligibility, which that's yet another confusing thing for the fans because how many year what determines whether somebody even gets a sixth, seventh, eighth year anymore because you've got some guys like there's a player on Arkansas who's 31 or 32 years old and still playing college football, and other guys like Miami just last year had a tight end who was in his ninth year of college football and was 28 or 29. So it's like, what even really is the clear standard on these eligibility waivers? And Chambliss can't get a sixth year. So now all of a sudden, Trinidad Chambliss can't get a sixth year, and DJ Lagway, according to CBS Sports, and I'll put the article up here if I can find it here, but CBS Sports just came out and said that DJ Lagway is now considering Ole Miss and talking to Ole Miss, even though he just committed to Baylor, but yet now he's still going out and talking to other schools. This is a mess. This is a complete mess. Contracts and commitments have to actually mean something. This is one of the biggest problems in college football right now. It's causing mass confusion, mass chaos, and this is one of the biggest things that needs to be fixed in the transfer portal. They need to stop talking so much about, oh, here's what we should do with the playoff. The playoff is fine. It's got its flaws, but as it is right now, it's fine. What you need to fix is the transfer portal, the window. You need to make contracts actually legally binding. You need to shorten up the window so that players can't. And you need to find ways to limit the tampering too. Shortening up the window, I think, will help with that. But you have to find ways to limit the tampering from coaches and actually dole out serious punishments for supposed tampering on coaches. This is only the beginning. If you allow it to continue, it will only continue to get worse. Anyways, wanted to talk about that, but it was an amazing game last night. Hopefully, the game tonight in the Peach Bowl is going to be epic. I've got a great feeling that it is. I think Indiana's probably going to win this game. I thought Miami was going to win last night. They did. Epic game. I think the Hoosiers win this one, and we'll have an epic national championship setup. But whoever wins tonight, I feel like has got a pretty good shot at winning the title because Miami is very banged up. Yes, they get a week and a half of rest, but they're pretty banged up. I don't think they have quite the depth capabilities that Indiana and Oregon have established on their rosters. So I do believe the winner of the game tonight will ultimately win the national championship game, whether it's Indiana or Oregon. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching the College Sports Superfan. I'll have more content coming out soon across a variety of college sports. Thank you all so much for watching.